Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Aminat of Amy Labels, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to take an accurate body measurement. But before we go into that, I want to talk about the things to note when you want to take measurements. So these are the things that will help your measurement to come out accurate. So the first thing to note when you want to take a body measurement for your client or model is whatever they are wearing. They should be wearing a dress that will not add anything to their measurement or something that is too tight. You understand? Except if the client is going to be wearing what's it called, let's say gadu or a waist cincher with the dress you're making. That is when they should wear a waist cincher. And if also they'll be wearing hip pad with the dress, they should be wearing the hip pad when you want to measure. Also, if your client is going to be wearing heels with the dress, it is best you ask your client to wear heels when you want to measure them. You see all these couture dresses that you see, if you watch their measurements sessions very well, you notice they have to be wearing heels by the time they want to take the measurements. Even when they come for fitting, they must be wearing the actual heels they'll be wearing with the dress. The second thing to note when you want to take an accurate body measurement is to make sure that your client is wearing a good bra. Yes, when I mean a good bra, I mean the kind of bra they'll be wearing with the dress or any good bra that will sit firmly on their body. Even if the dress you're making, the client is not going to be wearing bra. Take for instance, the client, you're making a corset dress or what have you, that the client is not going to be wearing bra. The client should wear bra by the time you want to take their measurements. So the third thing to note is the client's posture. Make sure that the client or model must be standing firmly with their legs together when you want to take their measurements. And the fourth thing now is record the measurements properly. If you measure your client and you have 0.25 more than a particular inch, make sure to add it in your measurements. Don't approximate when you're measuring. You understand? Let's say for instance you have 33 inches for the waist, or let's say 33.25, 33.5, make sure to add it while recording the measurements in your measurements book. Another thing I want you to note when you want to take an accurate body measurement is to make sure that you write your client's name, their telephone number, and the analysis of whatever the style might contain, because sometimes you might tend to forget, or maybe the client is bringing so many dresses you're making for them at the same time. It is not bad if you write down the analysis of the style in the measurement book, especially if you are not using all this measurement that already has templates of analysis, interpretations, and all those. Make sure to write your client's name and their phone number, and make sure that the phone number is their calling number, not just WhatsApp, because sometimes you might need to ask some questions or you need to make some inquiries about what they like. You understand? Sometimes while consulting, you might forget. So when you need to contact them, it should be their telephone number where you can call them on. So now, those are the important things you need to note while taking an accurate body measurement. So now let's move on to the measurement. So why you want to measure your client or model? See, most times you might not have the luxury of time to get a tape or a bias tape to tie on them, but this is the best and the accurate method of taking an accurate body measurement, especially now that I want to explain to you. So I need to use these ropes to explain to you some certain positions on a human body. So now, you see these two tape, I can use two bias tape, but I also want to use this tape rule. You can use a tape rule that you're no longer using or any one. So I'm going to be tying this. I'm going to be tying one on our true waistline. And how will I determine our true waistline? I'll just simply ask her to tilt. Please tilt. You see this side that is coming in? That kind of departs, that kind of demarcates our upper bodies and our lower bodies. Can you see? So that is where I'm going to be tying my first rope on. And this place symbolizes our true waistline. So that is where I'm going to be tying my rope. So this rope now, I'm going to be tying it loosely, not too tight and not too loose. Yes, I don't want to tighten it so that it's not going to cause any kind of bridge on our body. So this is the first rope I'm going to be tying, and this second one I'm going to be tying it around our upper hip. It doesn't necessarily have to be our actual hip line. So this is going to be around our upper hip. So even if you're working with just one rope, it's fine. This is the most important rope you need to tie around your client or model. But if you have the luxury of time, you can also tie around the upper hip. This one now is not standing exactly on our hip line. So that is it. So now, designers, so the first thing to measure is our shoulder to front half length and our shoulder to the back half length. So this is to help us determine that our front half length is different from our back half length. See, obviously, you know that my client here, my model here, is a slim person, but she's busty. So definitely our front half length is going to be different from our back half length, because at the back now we don't have bust at the back. So now I'm going to be showing you that practically now, and you'll see. So this is my client here now. You're going to start your measurement. Make sure to start from this point, not here, not anywhere lower to the shoulder, not into the neckline, but immediately after immediately after the neckline. That is where you're going to start your measurements from. So now see, I'm going to just take it across the bust. So now our shoulder to under bust is 14.5. So 14.5 now to our waistline. So here I have 18.5 to the waistline, 18.5. You see now 18.5 at the front. So now let me measure our back measurements. So our back now, so the back length is, see here I have 15.75. Can you see the difference? So at the front I have 18.5 and at the back I have 15.75. If I use 16 for my client here, it's still going to work perfectly. So now the difference between our front half length and our back half length is more than 2 inches. For some clients it might be 2 inches exact. For some people that are not as busty as she is now, it can be lesser. You understand? And some people might have a kind of hunchback, like not really hunch like that, but maybe they are fleshy around this part, so it might be more. But mostly the difference is always there. You understand? Except you're making for a flat person, somebody that doesn't have bust at all. So here now, a front half length and a back half length. So the difference between the front half length and the back half length will be used for the bust darts. So by the time we move into the drafting, you're going to understand that better. So now, I hope you understand what I have said now, that the front half length and the back half length is different. So I want to show you how to measure the underbust. See now, I'm taking it from after the neckline, then I'll bring it to the underbust. Make sure that it is sitting well on the underbust. This is one thing that you don't negotiate it. Make sure that it's sitting well on the underbust. Make sure it's sitting well on the underbust. Yes, don't even negotiate that is going to get here. Make sure it's sitting well on the underbust. Then if you're making for a dress now, make sure you're sitting well on the underbust. Then you hold it down and measure for the remaining parts. So here now to our upper hip, I have 24.5. This can also serve as our top length. Then you measure for our shoulder to hip. Can you see? Our shoulder to hip. Also, I should not forget our shoulder to nipple. Can you see now? Shoulder to nipple is just simply somewhere around the fullest part of the bra. The fullest part of the breast. Before the tape starts falling inward, that is where you're going to determine as the shoulder to nipple. It does not necessarily have to be the position of the client's nipple. You don't need to start looking for where is your nipple. No, it's just the fullest part of the breast. So for my client here now, I can work with 10.25, 10.5. So this place is safe. Then we measure like that. So make sure to measure your shoulder to nipple, your shoulder to underbust, shoulder to waistline, the shoulder to upper hip, then shoulder to hip. You have to take the measurement. For my client, for my model here now, I have around 26.5, 27. So that is where you have the hip, which is the fullest, and then the long gown. Just take it to the side and you have your long length. So now let's measure the circumference of the body. Let's go to the circumference of the body. So here I'm going to measure the bust circumference. So to measure the bust circumference now, make sure that you have some kind of ease on the bust. I don't advise that you measure your bust and it's too tight. No, it shouldn't be too tight. It's going to press the bust. It's going to press the breast. So the bust should be slightly ease. So here now I have 36 inches and you need this 2-finger magic. 2 finger must be able to pass through your measurements. This is the normal ease that should be on your dress. And also make sure that, your tape measure is not too low. Like your tape measure should not be here. It should be upwards because that is the circumference of where you're measuring. Sometimes you might be measuring for a client that is very fat. Please make sure to take the measurement like this. Make sure that you take it to that place where there is flesh on their body, so you won't make the dress and the dress is coming out too tight. The next thing I want to measure, remember I said for the bust, you need to measure it with a little bit ease. Yes, a little bit of ease, and the 2-finger magic will do that. So for the underbust now, underbust should be firm. Yes, it should be firmer than the bust. So here now for my model here, I have 29 inch. See this 29 inch. I'm not squeezing it in like this. Yes, 29 inches, and my 2 finger is still inside. Yes, you need that ease on your dress. So, and now for our true waistline is also 29. So you see here now, I notice I have 29.25. That's 29.25. That's like quarter of an inch. No, that's not quarter of an inch. Is that quarter of an inch? Yes, 0.25 is quarter of an inch. Make sure to add it, 29.25, because the body tends to change. So it's better to add every little detail on the measurement. So for our upper hip here, just measure the circumference. So our upper hip here, I have 36.5. That's our upper hip. Then to our hip, you see that all these parts are different, but all the measurements are important. So here for our hip, I have 40.5. And for the hip now, let me take off this one. For the hip, this is how to measure the hip accurately. You have to take your hip. Okay, can you see now? The 40 inches is not going down. I'm pressing it. So that means I need to ease it a little bit. I need to ease it so that the hip measurement is going to move on the client or model's body. So that is that about that. And you can always measure any part on your client or model that you need. Don't guess, except in cases where you are taking their measurement virtually or you already know the person very well. Don't guess. If your client is available to take their measurements, measure them. If you need the nose to mouth, take the measurements. Yes, you have to be precise while taking measurements. So another thing we should note is the nipple to nipple, also known as the bust span. The bust span should be measured. You know, it's the nipple to nipple. It doesn't have to be from the person's nipple. Where is your nipple? No, you don't need that. Just look for somewhere where is the fullest part of the breast and just measure it. Me, particularly, I don't like my nipple to be too small. Yes, it should not be too small and should not be too wide. So you just need somewhere where your breast is full to determine the nipple to nipple. So that's just simply it. Another important part is the back width. Let's go for the back width. Yes. So on a human body, the place that you need to, the standard back width is from, you see this bone to this bone. That's the exact back width you should measure. There's a bone around this part and there's another one around this part. So that's our standard back width. But now, if I am measuring for a client that, okay, I'll be making so many kind of dresses for her, I'd love to measure my back from the center back, from here. You know, there's a bone here now. So you just take your measurements from there. You take it across like that. So I'll take it to the sleeve. So for the sleeve length, you know, you're going to measure all kind of sleeve length that you might need to take, starting from the short sleeve, the 3/4 sleeve, and the long sleeve. So now please note, just stand like that. So when you're measuring a long sleeve, make sure that your client, you don't just measure it like this. No, that's going to give you a lesser value. So what you do is make sure that your client is tilting their hand like so and take it like that. So if I'm going to show you practically now, you see that if I measure it from here now, okay, I'm taking it over the shoulder, then I bring it like this. Can you see this point now? I have 30 inches here, for instance. Okay, now if she tilts her hand and I'm measuring the same place, the same position, see, here I have 31 inches. So your client should tilt their hand just the same way they are going to move the hand by the time they are wearing the dress. If you just measure it like this, by the time they are standing straight, the sleeve is going to be long. But by the time they try to raise their hand, it's going to be short. So make sure to ask your client to tilt their hand while measuring for the sleeve. There are so many things to still measure around the sleeve. So let's do the armhole circumference. Okay. So the armhole circumference is important. Is very, very important. So here now, I have 17 inches armhole for her. You know, for some kind of designs, you need the armhole to be bigger. So what you need to do is measure this one that is firm on the client. And by the time you want to make other kind of designs for them, you can just add whatever value you need to add. Another thing is the bicep measurement. The bicep is this part. This part is actually the fullest part of the arm of a human. So for some people, they tend to have a bigger arm, while for some they have a smaller arm. So that is why you need to measure it. So for my model here, I'll just measure it like this. So this is the correct way to measure the bicep. Don't bring it down like this. and consider that you're measuring a bicep, make sure that you take the tape rule over like so, take it up. Here I have 13 inches for our bicep. So, and you know, while drafting the sleeve, we need ease. That is what we call the sleeve ease of about 1.5 inch for easy movement. But you need to measure the bicep, then the round sleeve. When you want to measure the sleeve, the round sleeve, especially this position, you cannot use this part except you're working with a fabric that is very stretchy, or you're ready to wear it with nylon. So if I'm measuring a round sleeve here now, I'll have around 7 inches or 7.5 inch. But this thing is going to be hard for her to wear, so we need to use this position, this place around the fingers like this. So that is where you're going to measure the wrist. Yes, so here I have about 8.5 inch. So if you're using 8.5 inch for this place now, it's going to sit well on the client. So for me now, I have a smaller wrist. So I can even use up to 8 inches and to sit well for me. But some people, they tend to have a bigger hand more than me, even though I am fat. You understand? So let's move on to when you want to make a trouser. So when you want to make a trouser, you need your trouser is starting from here. For instance, let's say you're making an high waist trouser. It's starting from here. Then you're going to measure starting from there downwards. Then you have to measure your lap. It's not really important if you are making it with pattern making, but it's not bad if you measure it. You can also measure the knee measurements, and also the inseam. So the inseam is also very important, starting from here around the client, and you take it downwards to the length of the trousers. So if the client is going to be wearing heels with the trouser, make sure that the client is putting on that heels by the time you're measuring. And another thing you can do if the client is not wearing heels is that you ask them what is the inches of the heels you're going to be wearing with this trouser. So you just simply add it to the measurement. Now, if you're measuring the client's gown length, I don't want to forget to add this. You're measuring a gown length that is a bustier or a corset. Make sure that the tape is sitting on the underbust. But when you're making boo-boo or a free gown where it's not going to be contouring the breast at all, you don't need to take your tape to the underbust. Just take it over like this, because if you use the exact measurement for your client when you take it to the underbust and you use that same measurement for a long boo-boo dress, is going to be too long. Yes, because you know that dress you're making now, a boo-boo for instance, is not sitting under the bust, and so it's not taking any value around this part. So just take it over the breast like that and take it down. I want us to take note of when you want to make a trouser and you want to determine the crotch measurement. Just simply ask your clients to sit on a flat surface like this, not a cushion chair where it's going in, no, a flat surface, and you just simply measure from where the trouser is going to be starting from, and you will take it down. So here now I have 10.25 for the crotch of my model here. So I have 10.25. See, the tape is getting to exactly where this tool is. I'm not taking it in anyway. So you can determine the crotch depth like that, or you simply do your hip measurement divided by 2. Or you simply calculate your hip measurement divided by 4 to determine the crotch depth. But when you're working with an high waist, just simply do your hip measurement divided by 3, or your hip measurement divided by 3 minus 1. All these are tested calculations and it works. So feel free to test so many methods and know what actually works for you. But these calculations are what I've tested severally and it works perfectly. So now you need to measure the across bust. This is an important part that I encourage my students to always measure. You see, over the bust, like this position here, this is the upper bust measurement. Make sure to measure it, especially when you're making like a tube or a strapless kind of design. So this will help you know the measurement you need to use around the upper bust. So see here now I have 34.5. You see that this 34.5 is lesser than our bust. Our actual bust circumference is 36 inches, and the across over bust, the upper bust measurement is 34.5. So now you're going to know that you need to reduce the bust measurements around that part. So another thing you should always note is the across chest. See, across chest for this dress she's wearing now, we're not going to be following it. See now, across chest is from this point to this point. So can you see now? See, across chest for her now, here I have 13 inches. 13 inches at the front. By the time I'm going to measure the back, is going to be slightly more than the front. Can you see here now? I have 13.75 for the across back. She can even work with 14 inches. You see, these measurements are important. By the time you're drafting your patterns or by the time you're done making your dress, you can always take all these measurements on your outfit so that you know that, okay, this part is not going to go too, it's not going to be short or it's not going to be too much. So when you have a place like when you have the across chest that is sitting perfectly, you're going to be able to determine that, oh, this dress is going to sit well on my client even before they come in for fitting. You see, taking an accurate body measurement is very important, and I don't want us to neglect another method of taking the actual measurement, especially when you're making a dress for a client that has a very full breast, but they are not fat. You understand? That is why some people argue that our measurement is not supposed to be divided by 4. It is because some people tend to have this place to be more than the back. So you can always also measure the front like so. So see my client here now, she's using a bust 36, and for our across bust, I have 19 inches. You understand? So this is 19 inches now. 19 inches minus 36. We're going to be having a lesser value for the back. So the lesser value that we have, we're going to be using it for the back. Even she can use 20 inches at the front because she has a full breast, but there's nothing going on at the back. So that is another good method to use. Maybe you want to make a dress for your clients that has a full bust, but their back is not, they are not really fat. For somebody like me, if I divide my measurement by 4, it works perfectly. But if I try using this method for me too and I find out that is okay, I can always use it. But just make sure that by the time you want to take the measurement of your client or model, take everywhere that you need, especially if you have the luxury of time. Make sure to take all these measurements. All these things will help you by the time you want to confirm the dress before you take it out for delivery or before your client comes in for fitting. Attached to this video now, I'm going to be sending the list of the necessary measurements you need to measure on your client or model when you want to make a dress. So this will contain everything you need to measure on the human body. And if you have any addition, feel free to add it to your measurement books so that you can have a well-detailed measurement analysis. Thank you very much for joining me on this measurement video, and please do well to subscribe, like, and comment, as subscription is absolutely free. It's going to cost you nothing, and also turn on your notification so that you get notified once I drop another detailed video. So get it right with Amy Labels. I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe.